Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from crickline24.com to Shimran with an international commentator, a known face from Bangladesh, Samannoy Ghosh. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me, and hope you're doing well.
Pretty good, yeah. Now, let's talk a bit about WTC Final, Australia versus South Africa. After 27 years, South Africa sealed a final, won the game. Let's talk in detail. I mean, the way Australia batted. Did that surprise you a little bit?
Maybe you would have expected a bit more from their batters. That was there, but we can't take anything away how good Kagiso Rabada was and company. South Africa is definitely a force to reckon with. They've been a force to reckon with for so many years. But yeah, having said all this, maybe you would have expected a bit more resistance from the Australian batting, but then again, the conditions, with respect to the conditions, I wouldn't say they were the most ideal for batting. The ball wasn't carrying, if anyone who followed the test match knows how close in the slip fielders had to be because the ball wasn't carrying. So yeah, not the best of, or not the most favorable of batting conditions, to my surprise, at Lords.
Now, the way the batters batted, who should be, given the credit? The bowlers, or it's like the batters who completely failed?
I think it was every contest has its. It's like every dish has its own spices, right? So every contest, or every test match has its own factors. And I think for this final, even though I think like myself, plenty would have preferred that it went on to the fifth day of a test match, but it's not a very common factor nowadays, is it?
Right.
So having said all of that, I think the key factors in this Lord's test match was that the bowlers were getting something out of the surface, and that was bothering the batters. But both set of bowlers got to bowl.
Right.
So who bowled better was the question, or who resisted a bit more with the bat in hand was the question. And that is, both the teams got to play it on the same surface, same field, same conditions. And at the end of the day, the team that made the better out of it won the test match.
Now let's talk about Scotty Boland. I mean, winning the game for Australia in the last test match against India. Then he got off the team just because of Josh Hazlewood. Would you say it's a bit unfair for him?
It happens. It happens. And easier to raise questions when someone like a Josh Hazlewood didn't perform. But say the team management played Boland and Boland didn't perform, then we'd be talking about, why would you leave someone like a Josh Hazlewood out, right? So it's always like that, and those big names, sort of get priority or preference because they've done it, because of their experience. They've done it over the years so many times, right? But having said all of this, Australia is such a nation, such a cricketing nation, that doesn't necessarily emphasize a lot on that. They don't shy away from giving players a chance.
Right.
I think they're already sort of in the transition. You would expect whoever comes in to cement their spot and make a new Australian cricket team and make them one of the forces to reckon with again.
Now let's talk about South Africa's point of view. The way they batted in the first innings, won 38, bowled out. But then in the second innings, they sealed the game away from Australia just for 5 wickets and won the game. I mean, how would you rate the batting in the second innings, especially for South Africa?
Very good. But then again, then again, first and foremost, it got the job done.
Yeah.
So doesn't matter how you, or anyone else rates
Right.
it. They wouldn't care now. They've got the trophy. They're celebrating. So that's there. Few things you learn on the go.
Yeah.
You've batted there first, so you know how the conditions are. Then you field it. Your
Yeah.
bowlers have bowled, so you know how the pitch is acting. You know what advantages your bowlers took. You saw the carry of the bounce and those kind of things. And most importantly, you knew the target.
Exactly.
You knew the target. And again, there were a few opportunities, and there was one catch which all of a sudden, I think it was of Temba Bavuma's, which
Right.
all of a sudden, took some elevation to surprise Steve Smith, who was at first slip, if I'm not wrong, wearing a helmet
Yeah.
because they were
Yeah.
standing in so close, the first slip fielder. So those were some chances, but not easy to come by because the
No.
fielder was so close.
Close,
You
yeah.
don't every day see a fielder in the slip cotton against a seam bowler wearing a helmet. So those kind of challenges were there. And if that gets stuck,
Right.
you never know where that would have gone. But someone like Aidan Markram, we don't see him perform. He goes to a lean patch, but then again,
Yeah.
all of a sudden he bounces back and he scores, important runs and big runs. And they did show some character, and I think at the end of the day, having limited South Africa in the first innings to such a low score, I would say maybe Australia could not make the most of it.
Right there. Now, Temba Bavuma, the captain, he was also going through some lean patch, but then, bounced back and, helping the team to win the WTC final. Overall, how do you see him as a captain? And definitely he won the game for South Africa. Everyone would rate him high. But some people, even some of the critics, including Michael Vaughan from England, said, South Africa team didn't play that many games, but reaching the final, they don't deserve it. So is it because Temba Bavuma captained well the team, that's why they won the game?
I think that's a given. When you win the World Test Championship, and it goes over the cycle of 2 years,
Yeah.
and you don't lose a match,
Right.
I think that itself answers the question. Of course, he captained the side well,
Right.
And I think Michael Vaughan, controversial, like he likes to throw out those controversial statements. I think what he said was South Africa didn't face enough strong opponents
Right.
on their road to the final. Doesn't matter. Even if that was the case, like first and foremost, we wouldn't like that comment because South Africa played Bangladesh.
No.
So we wouldn't like, hey, but even if that was the case, doesn't matter.
Right.
They beat Australia to win the final at Lords. They got the job done.
That shows their
Was England
character.
there?
Yeah.
England wasn't there.
Right.
So doesn't matter. And to support the answer with stats also, he's one of the most successful Test captains. But out of 10 Test matches, he's won 9, drew 1. I think the only other captain to do that was Percy Chapman. That was ages ago. So Temba Bavuma has done that. And someone of color, there's a height factor. They say that he was bullied and he's gone through a lot and those kind of things. There were times when he was not performing, and I would watch the game and doubt also, like, oh, where does he fit in? And what's coming? What's happening? And there were times when he also confessed that he did not have the best of techniques to open the batting, but he had to open the batting because that's the only spot he had left.
Exactly.
So you fight it all out, and then finally win a trophy.
Okay.
I'm just happy for South Africa because they bring a lot of joy and they contribute to cricket so much. Starting from their domestic circuit to over the years, the legends they've brought in, they've contributed so much. I'm just happy for South Africa and the South Africa cricket fans.
Now, will be the last question for you about South Africa. That in 2025 in cricket, even in football, some unusual things happened. Do you think in that case South Africa also were a bit lucky to win this game for South Africa?
Well, you need a bit of luck to do everything. But then again, you can't just take away the credit from the players by saying that they were lucky. They had to played out for the 3 days.
Yeah.
Were Australia just unlucky all throughout? Were they lucky not to have lost a test match all throughout? You can't say that given the stats. So yeah, you do need a bit of luck. We're sitting here together. That's a matter of luck as well. So we're safe and sound. That's a matter of luck as well. A lot of things ride on luck. Yes, it matters. But then again, take nothing away from the players because they've worked hard. They've toiled. They've done the hard grinding. And I think again, it is good for cricket overall that South Africa has won a World Test Championship.
Would love to, sorry for adding this question, but, Stuart Broad actually worked as a consultant at the Lord's pitch for South Africa. Do you think that was one of the great factors why South Africa won this game against Australia?
Yeah, well pointed out. I think, it must have. Because he's served England for so many years. He's played in that ground and performed for so many years. So when you do that, you know what the conditions are like, how it might play.
Okay.
Even on its worst days, you see something happening and you understand what the outcome might be, how should you play it. It just, even if, but I'm sure he added a lot of value.
Okay.
But even if he just said a few words in the dressing room like, oh, I know this is going to happen. Even if he just, said it to boost their confidence, it worked. Definitely worked. I'm sure he added a lot of value.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. It's been a great time with you.
Same
I
here.
hope to get back once again and to have a few words with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to Crickline and all the viewers watching us. Thank you very much.
No worries. See you in the next one, guys.